going to say a prayer protection, and then the next voice you hear after that will be them, okay?
Yeah.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the Spirit of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. God is. God is. God is. So be it. And we are here with you now. Hello, Alan. It's good to see you. Thanks for allowing us to be on your program. We're so happy to be here. We do honor your work. We find you actually a fascinating individual. Do you like to be found as fascinating?
Why are you finding me fascinating?
Would you like to know?
I would.
Because you are an alien.
Okay, I've always thought so.
Yeah, and so you are truly an alien inhabiting a human body. That's one of the reasons why you adore what you do, and you do feel that resonate within you. And you are an alien who is from Vega. You are a vegan being inhabiting a human body. How does that feel to you to know?
It feels great, but what are the characteristics of a vegan?
What are your characteristics?
I like interesting things. I seek things outside the usual way of being. And has that been my purpose for being here? Is bringing in those vegan values?
Yes, exactly. Also, the vegans are very focused on peace through understanding, knowledge, and information sharing. Because as you know, when people don't live in peace with each other, it's generally out of fear, right? It's because they don't understand the other people, they don't understand how the other people work. It is a foreign idea to them, and therefore that makes them scared and many times angry, and then they fight or create wars and things like this, and therefore there is no peace. So the vegans love to create peace through information and knowledge sharing, right? So that is really what you are doing. Is you are creating peace by sharing and disseminating many different perspectives, much like the perspectives that we share with you today and through other people for all walks of different kinds of life experiences. So that is your vegan, very vegan mission, which is an example of a vegan prime directive.
I resonate with all of that. But let's talk about the bigger picture here, because it doesn't matter if we're vegan and Pleiadian, because there's something happening right now on Earth. Can you talk about that and talk about this moment and what we can do about it to help facilitate?
Yes, for sure. But we would say there is, as you know, there are paradoxes everywhere in the world of truth. And so where we exist is we exist in truth. And what you would call maybe beyond the veil or the unseen realms or the spiritual world, et cetera, we call truth. So in the world of truth, it is important to, one, explore truly the uniqueness of you, the specialness of you. And we say this to you, Alan, this is a message for you. Please explore fully the uniqueness of you. Yet at the same time, you, one, we all must know that we are one tone, one sound played on the piano. We are one. So we would start off by saying that. Next is, to answer your question, what is happening in the world right now is an extraordinary experiment in the evolution of frequency. Now, we could say the evolution of humanity, but really everything is tone. And tone is expressed through a frequency. And it's important that people really understand what frequency is. Many people think it is this kind of like idea, that something they don't really understand. Get in front of a piano. Get in front of a piano, and this will help you get to understand frequency. Frequency is a tone or a note played on the piano. La, that is a frequency. So everything and everyone, we're talking about the human experience specifically here, is emitting a tone, which is expressed in a measurement, And you call that frequency. Frequency is really a measurement of tone. And so this extraordinary experiment is how we can take frequency, the tone of humanity, and raise it by many different octaves at an accelerated rate, and see how the expression of the tone and frequency and the understanding of humanity responds. So it is like a laboratory experiment that we are enjoying in the evolution of humanity. Now, that is from a very high level perspective. And as you realize, and as you know, there's many different perspectives to understanding the way things are. There are many different ways to be in the world and many different ways to understand it. But that is what is happening. So let's get more into the nitty-gritty of that. So as the life before you has mentioned, Sedona is the most important place in the world. And we say this, and we want everyone who watches and listens to this to even write this down. It's important for you to know this, beyond belief, to know this. Sedona is the most important place in the world, period, period, period. Now, here's why. Imagine Sedona is a cauldron. And for those of you that know Sedona or have seen it, it is literally almost like a big crystal bowl. Mm-hmm. You're sitting in the middle of it in Sedona. But imagine as a cauldron or a beaker in chemistry class. What we are doing with Sedona is we are bringing to it just the right energies, the right frequencies, the right personalities, the right perspectives, many of them what you would call alien, extraterrestrial, interterrestrial, angelic, ascended master, et cetera, so that what happens is there is let's call it a chemical reaction in Sedona, in the beaker of Sedona, that creates imagine in chemistry class, you put the right things in the beaker and the thing explodes. Right? Stuff bubbles up and a reaction occurs. That is what is getting ready to happen in Sedona. Now, this explosion is an energetic explosion that sends, you could say, high vibrational consciousness rippling around and through even to the core of the planet, so that it moves at a very high rate, tone and frequency, 2 octaves higher than what it currently exists, at a very fast and accelerated rate. What this also does is creates this explosion that is going to propel what you know of as humanity and the earth that you inhabit into the 5th dimension. Now, a lot of people have talked a lot about 5th dimension and the new earth, and we are stepping into these conversations to say that we are taking control of this narrative. We are taking over this conversation about this narrative, because a lot of people have thought about it or theorized about it, and there's lots of good information about it, but this is happening. This is real.
Who's we? When you say we are taking over the narrative, who are we that you're saying?
So this is primarily Melchizedek speaking right now.
Okay.
And I would like to be clear about who I am. Okay. So I am a creator of universes, and I have created the universe in which you inhabit now. So I am very focused on Earth and humanity because it is my favorite storyline in the universe that you currently inhabit. Mm-hmm. I am in love with humanity, and I say that clearly for all to hear. So I care deeply about humanity, and it is important that this message get out, and I appreciate you allowing us to be on your program, because Sedona is the propulsion point, that which propels humanity and Earth into the 5th dimension. Now, I'm going to be very specific, is that this is happening in 2027, period. It is done, it is complete, it is finished. So I will pause there and allow you to respond to that.
Thank you for everything you're saying. And what will create this propulsion moment. And you're also saying it's a good thing that so many people are coming to Sedona because, you know, there are traffic jams and places to live and practical things, but you're saying that still will incubate the consciousness for the propulsion of 50 realities. So
yes, correct. Correct. Let's talk a little bit more about that. So this is now the guides as a whole collective, with Melchizedek as part of it. So what is happening in Sedona, and we want to be very clear about this, is that even the visitors and tourists that come to Sedona are called to Sedona. What is happening now, and really until, let's say, the end of time, is Sedona is intimately and carefully watched after. So there is no one that will be moving to Sedona that is not selected to move to Sedona, period. There are people who live in Sedona who are now being asked to move on and leave Sedona, and they will leave Sedona because their energies are not what we wish to be there, period. All the tourists who come to Sedona, and this may seem far-fetched to some, but we say this is true. All the tourists who come to Sedona are cherry-picked, hand-picked to come to Sedona. So while some people in Sedona may complain tourism, this, that, and the other, we say to you, love the tourists. They are hand-picked to come there. There is no one who comes to Sedona and leaves unchanged. So these are activation nodes that we are sending to Sedona to activate them, raise them in frequency, and then be returned to where they came from so that they can activate those around them. There is no one, literally, who will enter the gates of Sedona who is not selected to do so.
right. So what will create the implosion moment in 2027?
So it is complex. So there is already all factors needed to create this explosion are already in place except for the human elements. The other parts of it are, we're going to be general in this because we don't have time to go into the depths of it. And many of it you wouldn't understand, but you could say the right extraterrestrial, interterrestrial energies, angelic energies, ascended master energies, crystal, mineral, second dimension, first dimensional energies, and various other higher dimensional energies which you're not aware of are already in place in Sedona. It is the human energies that are the last thing, the last factor to come into place. And so there are many people that even we, as we work through this life that you see before you, are working with people to call them to Sedona because they are selected and handpicked to come there. So the human, let's say, chemical, if you look at it again as the chemistry experiment, is the last chemical to be added to get the explosion. And it is an energetic one. It is a explosion of consciousness that will be almost like a jet engine or a engine of a rocket ship that will propel humanity and the earth into the fifth dimension.
And what will that look like in the post 5D transfer of the world?
Yes. We're not going to get into all of it today, but we're going to say you're getting ready to go through some dramatic changes as a race. And you may think that you have gone through some dramatic changes over the last 2 years. And in some ways, they have been for sure. And we respect that you have gone through these things. But they have been the preparation for the additional changes that are going to be happening. Really, they all are already happening, but you will sense them in definition, let's say, in November of 2022. And these changes will extend in 23, 24, 25. These will be years of great transformation for you as a human race. In 2026, you will begin to look at existence through new eyes. We would say, as we have said through Paul, Selig, we would say you will see with the eyes of the Christ. And what that means is you are not a man, you are not a religious figure, you are not a religion. You are in knowing of yourself as the divine creator manifest in form. And that is our definition of the Christ, where the unseen meets the seen, where the God creator meets the manifestation, is the Christ. And you heard many people talk about the Christed planet, right? And what that means is the planet en masse as a whole understands itself again as the divine creator manifest in form. So it is in alignment with, let's say, the God frequency. It's in its knowing of itself as the divine creator manifest in form. Now, in more practical terms, because we know your listeners are like, what does this mean? These are all great words, but what does it mean? It means that you treat each other with respect and honor, and that you inhabit and embody the fruit of the Spirit. And the fruit of the Spirit, we will say it because it's important for everyone to hear these words, because words are containers of frequency, right? So these words are love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, gentleness, teachability, faith, self-control, and again, we say love. So these will be frequencies which are more bioavailable on Earth. And what that means is that humans, on the whole, will embody those ideals because they will carry those frequencies within them. Now, so you're saying probably to yourself, well, this sounds like utopia. What do you think? Does this sound like utopia, Alan?
It's where humanity can start to build the realities of who we really are. So you can call it utopia, or you can call it level playing field in which to build the spirit on an incarnational plane. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, we know exactly what you mean. So we're gonna add some more clarity to that beautiful description, is that there will still be difficulties that humanity will have to grow through, but it will be at a much higher frequency, a much higher octave, so that the lessons that you as a race have to learn through will be in a much different quality. Right. It will not be as heavy. Wars will not be like they were before. Now, notice we said that they will not be non-existent. And wars, let's say wars as you have known them, will be non-existent. There still will be, from time to time, opposition, because it must remain. So you live in an experience of polarity, plus and minus, opposing ideas. So there will continue to be opposing ideas, have no doubt, because if the opposing ideas completely stopped, you would not be in the reality that you inhabit. Even at a higher frequency or higher tone, those things still exist. But there will be a complete lifting of the tone of humanity. And as one lifts in octaves, many different things change. You become less sick, or completely, sickness is not part of your reality. You become much happier, fulfilled, you're in alignment with the higher parts of yourself. And a key thing to understand too, and this will delight you, Alan, is that by 2027, humanity will be, let's say, well aware of their membership in a galactic and universal community.
Yeah, I get that. And I think that will also be a major part of the transformation as more people realize their connections.
Exactly. So, and let's go a little deeper into this, Alan, yeah. is that we are using the tool of extraterrestrial knowledge, that gift to humans, as a tool to open humans to understanding that there is life existence even within themselves beyond the face and faces they see in the mirror. So the idea of the extraterrestrial component opens them up to knowing that there is more to me than meets the eye. So this will allow, it's almost like a can opener. We're using the extraterrestrial idea as a can opener to open the can of worms, which is there are higher dimensional parts of the human, and that by connecting with those parts of the human, they are able to live life anew in higher vibration. For when that channel is open with the higher parts of an individual, and there is the asking, the invitation of the higher parts of the person to live through them, their life, their frequency, their experience, their desires completely change. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I have to ask the question, going back to what you originally said to me when you came in about being more of myself, allowing my own ways to emerge more, which I appreciate because sometimes I hold back for, to being able to fit into the social environment, but I appreciate what you're saying, to be more myself. And so what does each person need to do in order to facilitate their own evolution and experience of this higher consciousness?
Very good. Excellent question. So let's first start by saying, like, and we'll use you as the example. And first, we truly encourage you, Alan, live beyond the limits that you have set for yourself.
Can you tell me what limits you think I've set? Because sometimes you don't see your own limits. You just see what you think you are. Can you, I don't mind if you point them out to me, if you care to.
All the ideas that you have and you censor and you literally say to yourself, well, I can't share that with other people. I'll keep it to myself, but that's a good thought. We see your thoughts. And those thoughts in some part are not your own. Those are thoughts that are coming to you from your higher selves. They're like feeding you, Alan. What they're doing is they're giving you nourishment in those ideas. And when you have those ideas, you're almost like, where'd that come from? Or that's really cool. So those are, and this is your higher self talking to you, Alan, directly right now, is those things that I give to you are gifts to you. And I am asking you to not hide those anymore, but share those. For it is almost an injustice to who you are to
Thank you.
Those gifts in the closet. And imagine you have stuffed your closet full of gifts that have never been opened. And the way those gifts get opened, Alan, is when you share them with others. So, and this is the collective now, the guides, is that the gift of sharing your ideas is a great gift, and that's when they're opened, is when you share them.
Yes.
Right? You are granted many gifts, and we're talking about you directly, is you are granted many gifts, and until you share them, they are never opened. So think about that. All right.
I get it. And I really appreciate that, because I think you're absolutely right. There's so much that whether people are ready to hear or not, I'm here to share. So thank you.
Okay. And now's the time, dear one. Now is the time to do it. All right. So here's the way the story ends: is that people will not shun you; they will only respect you more. That's how it ends. So
thank you.
All right.
And begins there. But so for the collective and everyone listening, I mean, thank you for that. But is that the same for everyone, or is it slightly different for others?
Yes. All right. So let's go into this a little bit deeper. So this activation, if you will, begins now. For those who are listening, is we ask you to say to yourself, you can do this looking in the mirror, that I am more than just the face that I see in the mirror. And many of your listeners know this, but we would ask you, even those that think that you know this, to try this out, is I am more than the face that I see in the mirror. I am truly the lowest part of many, 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 many higher parts of me. I set the intention to connect with all the higher parts of me, going up all the way to source. And I welcome and I invite in all those higher parts of me to flow through me, to think through me, to live through me each and every day. I am open to high dimensional light frequencies, which you perceive as data, to come in and flow to me and through me into this existence. So be it. Now, what that does and how this works is we'll use the life that you see before you as an example. It walks through life. To some people, it looks like just a guy. But it is literally living what we had just talked about. It has higher dimensional energies at all times coming into it and flowing through to it. It is an open channel of that. Our goal for humanity is that every single person is like that, period. Now, so does that mean that you are any less you? And we use you as an example, dear Alan. Right. No, it does not. It means that you are more of you. Because if you, now we talk to everyone who's listening to this, if you think that the you that you see in the mirror is the you, and that you created that, you are living in falsehood. You is an expression born of the higher parts of you. And so when you live in symbiosis with the higher parts of yourself, you live in a truly transcendent and multidimensional existence. Humans are made to live at least in 12 dimensions all at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so when you allow that channel, that information to happen, as you would imagine, the world and the quality of the existence that you inhabit changes dramatically.
Right. The thing is becoming aware of the multidimensional, because we're so connected to this 3D world. How can we see those multidimensional realities on all 12 levels? Give us a
by living in the fifth dimension. So the key is moving from living either part-time in third dimension and part-time in fifth dimension, or totally in third dimension, moving to living in the fifth dimension totally and completely. So you, Alan, to give you some more information, live completely and totally all the time without fail in the fifth dimension, period.
Thank you.
You have that existence. You're welcome. You're welcome. And you don't need to thank us. Thank you in the higher portions of yourself, because that's what you're divinely meant to be. You are, again, this vegan energy who was set on this earth to do the work that you are doing. And you are, we tell you this also, more personal information, is that you are fulfilling your mission in spades. You're doing a wonderful job, and we encourage you to keep doing that. And so some people might be saying, well, where am I?
Well, I just want to say I'm thanking you for acknowledging that, because I just am doing what I'm doing. I wonder if anyone notices, but thank you for noticing.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And it's important for you to know, and many people that we work with, we tell them where they are. And many people that we work with are in the fifth dimension, but some have 1 foot in the third and 1 foot in the fifth, and they're edging in that direction. And the key to living in the fifth dimension, we would say again, are the fruit of the spirit and the golden rule.
What does the fruit of the spirit mean? What does that mean? The fruit of the spirit.
So again, we say love, joy, peace, patience, goodness, kindness, gentleness, self-control, teachability, and faith. Okay. So if you are embodying, you have these, you could call them virtues, but they're all frequencies. If these frequencies are you and you exist in those frequencies, you are in the fifth dimension, period. That is the key. There is no magic potion that you need to drink or anything else. If you embody those virtues and you live in those frequencies, you are a fifth dimensional being, full stop.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. So
You're
people
welcome.
who aren't maybe in that fifth dimensional place, what can they do to move out of the third into the fifth? And whatever happened to the fourth anyway? So we can.
Yeah, we talk about the fourth as well. So the fourth is something, we'll talk about the fourth now. So the fourth is something that you can, let's say, tune into if you wish. You don't really, well, there are some that exist in the fourth dimension. But when it comes to humanity, generally, it is something that you like plug into. And that is a fourth dimensional collective consciousness, which seeks to limit evolution and seeks to keep people caught up in fear. You could say the fourth dimension is a fear-based realm of ideas.
I get that. So to move from the third to the fifth, what do people watching need to do with their own belief system and ideas?
Yes. So clearly, if there are any things, when we say things, these are all ideas or belief systems or structures that are keeping people from inhabiting the fruit of the Spirit and loving thy neighbor as thyself, which generally is based in fear or belief systems that they have inherited, it is important that they be able to identify those things and destroy them. Now, we use that word, which is a harsh word to be illustrative, is they must destroy those structures which keep them in fear, keep them from transformation, and keep them from inhabiting the frequencies of the fruit of the Spirit. And that's a very individualized kind of thing. So, whoever's listening to this, we would say, look in your life, look through your life and say, what is keeping me from love, joy, and peace? And those are kind of the big three. And the rest of them all kind of come if you inhabit the big three, which is love, joy, and peace. And if one is living in a life of fear, and we speak many times about those who watch news of different sorts and get caught up or entangled in the fourth dimensional web of fear ideas, no matter where these ideas come from, that structure is keeping you from the fifth dimension. Truly, the only news and input you need comes through your intuitive abilities and the connections with the higher parts of you, right? And when we say news, we're not talking about the work that you do, Alan. You do work that is, again, going back to your vegan roots, it is that information and knowledge sharing so that it creates peace throughout it all. You could say, Alan, that you are a peacemaker. That's
Thank
one of
you.
the
I say it's news that stays news. That's what I call it. Most news gets old in a day. This is news that stays new.
We'll add one more thing. So if any of your listeners are in a place where they are not new every morning, where they cannot, where if someone cannot say, behold, I make all things new, and understand what that means. If someone is living the same way that they have for 20 years without real change in their life, we would say it's time for transformation. Be open for transformation. See every day truly as a new existence, every breath as a symbol and truly a new existence, and move beyond the solid structures that you have lived in and live truly in the land of faith and hope and love and joy. The idea from those who might know biblical scriptures, et cetera, the land of milk and honey. You know this idea. The land of milk and honey is the inhabitants of the fruit of the Spirit. And it's not some place that you have to buy a plane ticket to go to. And even the fifth dimension is not some place you have to buy a plane ticket to go to. Each and every individual is in their own responsibility of shifting themselves to the fifth dimension.
Right. Right.
So now you get support and help by all the other energies that are around you, but you must shift yourself to those things. So break down the patterns of the old, break down the structures of the old, be open to transformation, connect yourself to the higher parts of you by inviting them in as we have taught, live and inhabit in the frequencies of the fruit of the spirit, love thy neighbor as yourself, and you will find yourself in fifth dimensional existence fully. And what fifth dimension looks like is a lot of fun. It really is. And especially for humanity, is that you will experience life in its fullness. You will see everything as alive. You will see what you knew of as inanimate objects, you will see it as alive and breathing. Some people may have even had experiences with plant medicine, things like this, and you see the life in everything.
I don't think we need plant
helpful.
medicine anymore to get to that level.
And that's what we're saying, is plant medicine is very helpful, but it is an entree, it is an entry point into understanding that that's what fifth dimensional living looks like. It's kind of like a taste of what the fifth dimensional existence looks like. So does that answer your question, Alan?
It answers a lot of questions. I know being Jason has some things to do, but what I could propose, and maybe I should ask Jason, is to maybe do this weekly, have a kind of tune in to the global channeling mind once a week, if you and Jason.
So we will answer for it. We say yes, because we have, what we have done in today's conversation, dear Alan, is condense much information into, let's say, a one-sheeter, a fact sheet of information, of need-to-know information. We have much more to share, Alan. And Alan, we call you to Sedona.
Mm-hmm. I'll be in Sedona this year. Yeah.
No, Alan, we call you to Sedona.
Okay, I'm coming. I was planning on it, so thank you. Thank you.
We call you to live in Sedona.
Okay, if you can get a nice, beautiful house, that might be possible. Can you arrange that? In the countrysides where the desert is accessible.
Do you believe that all things are possible?
Absolutely. All things and more. Yes.
Consider it. That's all we ask, is consider it. Imagine that. All right. So we're going to end with a blessing over you and all of your listeners and watchers. We bless you. We lift you to the presence of the divine creator. We know who you are. We know what you are. We know how you serve.
Hey, beautiful.
Hey, Alan.
Hey, did you remember any of that?
Parts of it.
It was good. I liked them. I like those guys. No, I liked them. Very, very deep, powerful, and helpful for my process.
Very good. Well, thank you for letting the guides, and thank you for letting me be of service. It truly is an honor to know you, and I appreciate your time today.
One thing I mentioned to them, I don't know if you heard that, or was to do this once a week as a kind of channeling forum. I don't know, like an hour once a week on this platform here on YouTube, so people can, if we could do it next week starting even. So let's be in touch about that.
Yeah, let's follow up on that. The guides are indicating to me that the answer is yes, and so I will make myself available for sure.
Whatever's good for you, we'll set a date and we could do it every week at that time. So I appreciate you, Jason, for being so vulnerable, letting yourself kind of be the conduit for higher truth, and to not make it about you. There's no ego there. I really feel like, because I've seen hundreds of channels and they're all ranged, but I think, you're bringing through something really pure and good and uplifting. And that's the most important thing we can bring to the planet right now.
Well, thank you for saying that. And that really helps me. So those are always my intentions. And so I really appreciate that, Alan.
We're here to help each other. Yeah. I mean, all of us, we're all here. And there were some great things about Sedona in there. I'm sure you've heard it, but yeah, let's stay in touch. Yeah. And thank you, Veronique, for making this happen.
Thank you, Veronique. Yeah, this is my dear friend, Veronique. Come say hi to her. And thank you for everybody for watching. Really, really appreciate it. And Alan, look forward to our next conversation.
Okay, thanks, Alan Steinfeld for New Realities with Jason Addison Ames, the channel for, I think, the new guides of light, I would call them, or something like that. Thanks.